Chris, let's get into just some basic concepts like what is marketing? Because I think some people are probably rolling their eyes like, what is marketing? Come on, guys. But when you think about it, I think this word gets used in a lot of ways, in a lot of places that don't always mean the same thing.
Oh, that's completely true. I mean, I think marketing can be used to mean branding, advertising, just posting something on social and expecting someone to care, probably 20 other things. But I wanted to start off by saying when I was a stupid, naive kid and first trying to make music and expected anyone to care about, I thought marketing is so gross. It is this disgusting act of manipulation. People should just hear my music and love it or not, and they can take it or leave it. I'm not going to go out of my way to try to describe it or make anyone care. It's like it's the music and nothing else. And I had these two friends, Amy and David, who were like, "You're young and you're an idiot. No, no one is going to care about your music unless you make them care. And you have to make them care in a way that has nothing to do with them actually hearing the music. Because if they finally get to the point of hearing the music, then the music can speak for itself. But there's 100 miles to travel between them not knowing you and them finally listening. And those 100 miles have to be traveled by marketing, which is just, I think, the act of telling a story. And when I finally realized this, I thought, oh, it's not gross. It can be something that's authentic. It can be creative. It can be actually be really fun if you think of it as just an extension of your artistry. And essentially, what we're doing is just talking about ourselves in a way that hopefully makes an emotional connection with an intended audience. And not just makes a connection, but that there's a plan to make that connection mean something in the form of, hey, I need you to do something for me now. And that could be a hundred different things. But once I realized it's an extension of my music and can be authentic and not like a car salesman, I was like, oh, like my whole world shifted. I mean, I'm a marketer for CD Baby, but I also started to have a ton of fun marketing my own music. So thanks to Amy and David for calling me out on my naive crap.
Yeah, I think that you summed up, I think at its essence, that it's storytelling. You're trying to tell a story because you want people to care. Yes, we are all victims of a constant barrage of people yelling at us with marketing slogans or calls to action to do certain things that they're just hitting us over the head, stuff we don't care about, stuff we didn't want to see or hear messages from various people. It's just like they're just in our lives because of the way media works and the way life works these days. And oftentimes I think artists think, I don't want to be that person. Well, first off, don't be that person because that's not what we're talking about.
Right.
But the problem is, a lot of artists do become that, and that's not good marketing either. So, the storytelling concept, I think, is really important because I think in so much of what we talk about, whether we've done deep dives in advertising or marketing funnels and various things, it's like ultimately what you're trying to do is tell people a story that they'll care about so they come along for the ride.
Yeah. And one comment for anyone who is resistant to marketing or to having to try to do marketing for their own music, like I was, it doesn't matter if you're excited about it or not. It doesn't matter if you think you can do a good job or not. You have to do it. Like literally no one will care unless you do. You could even be an accidentally great marketer for your music. I'm not saying it all needs to be pre-scripted, but if you have to have a mercenary attitude about it and just do it begrudgingly because you have to, fine. Do it with a grudge, but do it. Because if you don't, like, don't you want people to hear your music? That's like the most basic question. If the answer is yes, then get over every other objection you have that might be from a sense of entitlement or, any of that stuff. Just get over it and do it because you have to.
Yeah, some couple things in that session I mentioned I did for Indie Week. A couple things I shared yesterday was that Spotify says they get 60,000 new tracks a day. That's a whole lot of music. And then the next slide after that I showed, it's like, but you're not competing just against that. You're competing against everything. Like Netflix, streaming services like that, gaming,
Political
platforms like
outrage,
political outrage,
cute dog photos,
doom scrolling,
everything on the internet is your
yes,
competition.
everything. And in 2020, they said that we reached peak attention. And there's been some headlines recently, especially in like the digital space relating to what's happening at Netflix and just in and entertainment in general, saying that there's now an attention recession, meaning that people are starting to like, I need to take a break from this stuff. So you're competing with all of that. So the idea that your music is just going to randomly pop into people's lives in the world we live in is just not uh it's just not going to happen. Sure, maybe a couple people might randomly find it, but we're not here to just hope and pray that someone randomly finds our music. We're trying to do things to grow an audience and build a career around the music that we make and hope that people love it. So they have to know about it, and we need to tell them about it.
Yeah, I just wanted to. So we've been using the metaphor of like storytelling, and I think it's worth pointing out that yes, marketing is an act of storytelling. You want people to take notice, be interested enough to turn to the next page. You want enough people to get to the end of the story that, your career gets to the next level, or you have enough money to make your next album or whatever it is. You also have to know who's on that journey, and you have to notice when people fall off and stop reading the book, and you want to know who gets to the end. That might sound daunting. There's a lot of ways you could be telling that story. It could be through organic posts, paid advertising, the things you choose to say and do at a club during a gig. There's a lot of ways to tell a story. But if all that sounds daunting, just remember, don't tell the whole story at once. No
Yes.
one like no author drops the book into someone's brain and they have ingest 400 pages of a novel all at once. So marketing is really like little puzzle pieces, little bits of the story, a paragraph or a page at a time. And you can, I think, write the story as you go. It doesn't need to be all pre-scripted. But if you kind of have a sense of the direction, then maybe your marketing campaigns will have more of a shape to it, might be easier to execute. But I just think it's worth reminding people you don't have to tell the whole story at once.
Yeah, and you said a couple things there that I really wanted to highlight. One, you said it could be organic, just in case you don't know, because organic, that can kind of be a marketing lingo term. That just means you posted something or you did something and it traveled without having to pay for it. So, social posts that you make that lots of people like, that would be considered organic, where a Facebook ad, that is paid. Marketing people will always like look at traffic sources to websites and things. They'll see how much is organic, like how many people are just naturally searching for what you do compared to how many people are responding to an ad, or it's a combination of those things oftentimes. But you also mentioned it could happen in a club. And I like that that's on the list because this is my biggest freaking pet peeve with musicians. I get so frustrated when I go to a show and the band one refuses to even really look or acknowledge that the audience is there, and they're probably backstage complaining that not enough people were there. I'm like, well, you treated us like crap that we're here, we're there, so why do you expect more people to come? um they don't talk to the audience, but my big pet peeve is they don't say their name. And I've actually, when back when Chris, when you still lived in Portland, we were playing the Portland scene. My band Hello Morning was, we were in similar circles. It just drove me crazy to see bands like I talked to bands and they were like, no, I refuse. I don't do that. And I'm like, that is just stupid. So marketing can be just about how you carry yourself and present yourself and interact with people. I think that was one of the great things about the Adam Ezra episode because you can tell that he's so personable with his fans that the way he interacts with them, it's a form of marketing. It's a form of getting people interested in what you're doing. If you look disinterested and aloof, that's not going to attract people.
Well, and that's a good example. He is doing marketing, but I bet to the people that are in his audience that probably just feels like he's inviting them to a party. It doesn't strike them as marketing because it's probably so natural and enthusiastic, and they have a feeling. He's created a connection, he's created a feeling in them. And I think, to go back to, I think, the two things good marketing needs to have, it needs to create a connection and a feeling. And that could be excitement, curiosity, disgust, just some strong feeling. But then the other thing it has to have is they need to know what to do with that feeling, whether
Yeah.
that's click this link, sign up for my email list, buy the CD, come to my party, whatever it is. It's like create the connection, create a feeling, and then have a clear signal about what they're supposed to do.
And I think the feeling is important because we see artists post links like new single out, go get it here now. And sometimes you just need to be direct like that. I don't want to say that that's always wrong, or go buy my music. No, that's always wrong. Just that abrupt and out of nowhere, go buy my music. But the idea that there's no emotional connection. So that's where I think and we'll get more into part 2 of this episode where we talk about some more specific things about marketing, but like that emotional connection or emotional feeling, and it doesn't necessarily have to be about your song, but it's just in the message. If you can elicit some sort of emotion in the person, it'll make them want to click or get interested. And also, like you said, they got to know what you want them to do, though, because I think sometimes artists get very creative creating things, but then after someone sees it, like a creative message, they don't know what they're supposed to do, or the artist wants them to do too many things at once, and it just becomes confusing.